Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my December daily stories for 2025. For today's video, I'll be sharing with you the processes of my story number 3, 4, and 5. So, for story number 3, I am looking at using these two pieces of pattern paper with these photos to bring it all together. I did place photos into these circles and journaling on Canva, and I thought that I'd cut them out and place them onto the pattern paper that we received from the collection. And also the same for Holly and Jolly. I found a frame that was an oval shape and that can fit inside of the O's for Holly and Jolly. So my idea here is to put these photos, which is years 1 to 5 of my son's Santa photos, on the lower O, and then for the upper O here, I'm just gonna trace this out and create a shaker O for the top. And so. And this is, a bit trickier than I thought. Mainly because my sewing machine didn't want me to win on the shaker element, but I persisted and I eventually got it. So I love how it came out in the end. So I'm just cutting this down using my precision scissors. And I am this is the vellum that I used for my previous shakers. So my title page, which is a video that I published a few days ago, as well as, well, probably a couple weeks ago by now, but as well as my family introduction page, I did a shaker. So this worked quite well for me in the past. And so I love that how this looks. It's just a tad bigger than the O so that I could get some stitching happening. For some reason or the other, I didn't like it and I decided to just do it a bit more precisely. One more time. So I'm using my scissors because I realized that both sides are actually quite straight. And then what would happen is I would just cut along the curve for the O. So I thought that would give me a bit more precision with the O. Looking at it here, it's probably very close and wasn't too big of a deal. But here we are. So I'm just going to draw that line in and then cut it out. I've added a bit more space, I believe, for this one. So that's probably why I did it again, so that when I stitch, the stitching would still cover all over the edges. So get some overage along the edges of the O. So once I carefully do that, I just kind of, created this constructed O. I feel like this would be a bit neater. What I'm also doing is I'm cutting inside of the pencil line, just so that there isn't a dark mark along the edges of the vellum piece. So I felt like that worked quite well for the shaker element. And then I'm just carefully going around. So a nice simple rudimentary way of getting the shape cut out. Other ideas would have been to bring the O into a Cricut space or whatever brand of die cutting machine you may have, and getting that like a perfect letter cut out. I'm also mindful of the fact that the top edge is a straight edge, so keeping that in mind. And then I'm using this piece to cut the red polka dot. It's a specialty journal card from this year's December daily collection. I felt like it would perfectly match with this particular layout, and I quite like it. I believe that it is thicker and smoother than the vellum that I usually use. So there was a bit of what do you call that, kickback from my sewing machine when I tried putting it through. But once I flipped it over to my thinner vellum, and it passed through the sewing machine quite easily. So just in case you're having a bit of a tug with your sewing machine, just kind of flip it over and see if that works. So this is the finished stitching. I did stitch a few times on one side and I tugged, and then I just flipped it over and it worked quite well. And so I did put quite a little bit of sequins in there, and I am definitely just I liking how it looks, and I'm just looking at the shape, flipping it over, see what works best for me, and then working through what to put there. So these are some of the plastic gifts that tucked in. Those look quite cute, but I would just kind of, yeah, I like it. I'm thinking now I probably could have just tied a ribbon around them in the middle for the holly. That would have been cute. But yeah, I had really bad decision fatigue for this particular O in the layout. So I added on the left hand side some flip flaps, that chipboard number, a vellum star, and I am also going to glue together these photos back to front in order of year. So 2025 will be on top. This is 2024 on the back hand side, and then I have 2023 in my hand right now, maybe, or 2022, and then we have 2021, which was his first Christmas. Tiny baby, like 4 weeks old. So these would be attached to some twine through a crocodile or an eyelet. So I am simply going to cut a hole into the J as well as the L. At first I thought I would get a bit closer to the photo, but then I quite liked how it looked in the middle of those two other letters, because it just brings a bit of, of an element and some extra interest into the layout. So popping that on, and I'm also going to look into what color eyelet. I chose this green, nice Christmassy bright green, and I chose this red and white baker's twine to wrap the photos and bring it together. I like this technique for my eyelet. So I'm running the twine through, and then I'm popping the eyelet in, and then I'm squeezing it into place. I love that because it acts as a closure as well. And so I'm doing that for both sides of the photo, and then just popping both sides of the photos, and then popping a bow around it to keep it in place. This works quite well, but then I also decide to glue the twine through the middle of both photos. And these gifts would have been cute here too, because Santa and gifts. So playing around with that a bit more. And then just kind of, I like this tag, this joyful tag, the best. And I feel like that first group or cluster of gifts were also my favorite. And so guys, I start with this layout probably a couple more nights before just committing to completing it. So in the meantime, I'm just gonna glue these bits on the left hand side because I like how those look, and I'm pretty 100% comfortable with securing these in place. So just popping these on here at a bit of an angle and just gluing the very top so that you can always lift these flaps to read the journaling. And then I'm gluing on the star here, and that looks great to me. So just gonna pop this on as well. Some other stars here, and I'm going to add in this chipboard number. And so once this chipboard numbers here, I like those, kind of centered around the photos. And then I just string this to see how it looks through the bow. I don't know about you, but I struggle a bit now to tie bows. I think that may have always been a thing for me, maybe. Um, but yeah, just playing around with the bows, and then I decide, okay, let me glue these together. And so I guess the beauty of using tacky glue with photo paper, with most paper surfaces, you're gonna get some time before it completely sticks, but especially with photo paper, you're gonna get quite a bit of time, and it is easy to remove as well. If it is within some few minutes you decide you want to go ahead and readjust something. So I'm just going to go through and glue these two down, just passing the baker's twine through it, just to make it a little bit more secure so it doesn't fall out of the layout easily. So my next step is just to tie a bow here, and I am gonna get my joyful tag and tie it through. I find that it is, it can open like a booklet as well, which would be kind of cool too. So just kind of working through how I want this and how secure I'd like it to be. As another option would be to just make a pocket on that lower part, like below the ribbon, as like a acetate pocket for it to tuck in, or like a little band to secure it, if that's something that concerns you. But for me, this seemed pretty fine as is. And it's just kind of like a little accordion-ish booklet or a flip open booklet. And then I am tying my ribbon, but I'm trying to tie it as securely as possible and just make sure that my tag is in place, so that, I can feel comfortable with it. And so once that tag is done, then I'm just going to snip off the excess bits of the ribbon. I left quite a bit on just in case I wanted to create a different mechanism using the twine. And so now I'm just going to glue around the edges of the shaker and adhere it into place by the O. And once that's done, I will go ahead and glue that into place. So this one's quite fine and looks pretty good to me. And so now I'm just kind of like going around the edges with this one and just pressing it down until I feel comfortable. And so we can still see a bit of the O there peeking through, which I think is quite nice. And at this point, I'm still thinking about the gifts. So I do pull the plastic piece off from on top of it, on top of all three of them, and just kind of wanting to play around. Like, I'm pretty sure at this point that the gifts would work, but I guess, I don't know, something just I wasn't quite settled on it. Even though they look quite great, I wasn't quite settled on it. And so I think things through a bit more, and I probably walk away, and then I decide on this, the bow and the Marian Bride. So this is the completed layout for number 3. Story number 3. This is my little bow and my little tag. So just straightening that up a bit, but I like it like that. And I have my Marian Bride. I cut this off, so that signifies the end of that. And then this is what my album is currently looking like. So I'm just going to show you a bit of that now. So I have my title page, my reason why, my family intro page with my shaker pocket and some journaling behind. And then after journaling, we have this with my son and my baby girl. And then this will be my table of contents. And then we have my story one with my pull-up element, along with my story number two with my baby's first Santa photo shoot or visit to Santa. I have some photos in there. So all of these I have process videos up on YouTube. If you haven't seen them already, please check out my December daily playlist, and you can see all of these videos and how I set all of these pages up. So just popping these back in gently. And then once that's in, I can go and I can pop story 3, which is the one I just worked on, into the album. And I feel like that looks really great there. I realized that I'm doing double page spreads. So most of the stories so far. So I may endeavor to do some single page layouts for the next few days, but we'll see how we go. I always end up with so many photos that I do want to space them out on a double page, and that's what I like about the 10 by 8. And so this is my story number 4, which I did for product play. So the process with this particular story is over in the December daily product play class for this year. And so I have 4 tags, one for each of my family members, and just a little, just a little description of what, we've done this year and what we're looking forward to for this season. I have not opened this since I created the lesson, which was, a couple of months, the end of October, really. So not the end, maybe the middle of October. So approximately 2 months ago. And so now I'm gonna go on to story 5, which is this one with the Be Merry. This was also one of the lessons from Product Play by Ali Edwards, and so I have my flaps, and it's just to add in my photos and journaling. So I've printed out my photos and journaling, and I have done it by row. So I have the pink. I used that lined pattern paper for it, and I'm using these dies from the collection to cut out the photos and the journaling into its respective shapes. So just cutting these down one by one. I was going to use the plastic labels and just write on it, or even pass it through my printer to print on it, but I felt like this was just fine using it digital. And then I'm just cutting down these photos to the size. I sized them to about 1.9 by 1.7. Some of them ended up still being a bit short, but it may have also been because it's so exact that I needed to just be very precise with my die placement. Pulled out my tiny little die cutting machine, which I use when I'm using small dies. I love it because it fits really lovely on my desk without taking up too much space. And then I'm just passing this through my die cutting machine and cutting out the label shape, which is one of the signature shapes for this year's collection. So bring that out, and then I'm gonna have do this for the next 16, I think it's 16 of them, 4 by 4. And so once I'm finished doing that, then I'll just go through and adhere everything down to those flippity flaps and finalize story 5. I also contemplated adding in some tassels and whatnot. So that may be something that I add in later on. Simply because at this point in time, I do want to move on with my other stories, and that's my priority right now. But something I like to do at the end of my album is just go through and add in any embellishments or extras that I feel like, which is why usually I would take some time before I do a full flip through just to finish up everything and get through it all. So this is me adhering and bringing this all together. Um, I I'm trying to just gonna be a bit different and not have it in the same order for each row. I also am choosing the plastic labels and just kind of pulling them out by color. So I'm looking for the pink ones right now. Just yeah, the pink ones with the designs, and then I think I'll just work with that moving forward because these are flaps, and at first glance you may not see what's going on. Anyway, I thought whether I want to use them as tabs, but it will be on the right hand side of the page. It would be adhered to one of those adhesive strip things. So the tabs will need to be on the left hand side, and so I would need to punch this out. I do punch a bit too deeply. I got a bit ahead of myself here, so I ended up having to reattach this piece that flew out. It doesn't look too bad, but I still reattached it just so that the hole will be there on the paper. And I decided to stick a pin in it for now. Okay, I don't. No, I really do. I feel like it's a bit too risky, and I am just gonna stick down my photos and journaling and embellishments and then return to that idea later on. So just gonna use some of my favorite tacky glue to stick this one down. And once that's done, I will come back and kind of just add in the number 5 as a type of embellishment. So just putting some tacky glue around the edge of this and putting it back into position because I feel like that's way too much B, and I would rather it not be that way. So popping through that in and just kind of smoothing it on. And then I will focus on what I know I want to do, which is sticking these photos down with the journaling as well as the plastic piece there with the foliage. So we have that happening. And once that's happening, I feel like it's just going to fall into place quite easily. So yeah, let's do that first. And let's just stick this down and get these in place. So there's 16 of these to stick down. I will just go ahead and do those, and then I will come back and wrap this layout up. So these 3, 4, and 5 came together quite quickly. Mainly because 4 was already done. 5 was a foundation page. I was done. So mostly 3, and then 3 I worked with a bit of hybrid happening. There's still a lot of decisions to make. And from my end, I really, really love minimalist layouts, and I assume that there aren't as many design decisions, but I am thinking that they probably will be just as much because that's how I roll. So just wanting to commit to this. You see how easily the tacky glue comes up, and because the shape is quite, a solid shape, I just pull it out. So all stuck down, and I'm just going back in now to cut out these little pieces of circle, and then I'm just going to add in the gold glitter letters 5, because it's a story number 5 along that left edge. And so once that's done, I will leave this layout here for now and then move on to my next layout. So this is where I'm at, guys. Thank you so much for being here and for watching my video. I have my full December daily playlist for what I've done thus far up on my channel, so please feel free to check out the other videos if you have not checked them out already. I'm so excited to be working in my December daily album, and I can't wait to share with you all my other process videos. Please let me know in the comments down below if you are working on December daily this month and how things are going for you thus far. I would very much love to know. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!